Another episode down. That was Common Ground. Hey everyone, we should be live. Oh, I gotta pull up the screen
Hi
share.
everyone.
We got a few fewer people this time around. Everyone's busy with things for some reason. Kind of odd, out of nowhere. But anyway, what'd you guys think of the episode?
It made me
I really
emotional.
liked it.
It made me emotional. I'm tearing up right now.
Really?
It's a sports episode.
Wait, I want to hear from Drummershy.
You know, just bonding with families all about this episode, and knowing the history of Patton Oswalt's wife passing away. And losing a member of your family. I still feel that way when I lost my grandmother, but man, that's the ending just made me cry.
Huh. Well, you've
did.
sabotaged this review because now if we say anything bad about it, you bring guilt into it.
Yeah, I'm still gonna say stuff bad about it.
Yeah, I wasn't a giant fan of this episode, but I want to be clear. Like, I didn't hate it. Oh, it just sort of happened, you know. So, all right, I should explain to the viewers. We were kind of split. We talked during commercial breaks, and we were kind of split. I think Hojo and I weren't big fans, and then Jessica and Drummershy loved the episode. Well, actually, I didn't hear too much from Jessica, but we're pretty split on this one, so it should make for an interesting review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that we should go over the basic premise of the episode. Is Quibble's back, and he's got his special pony. They don't ever say like girlfriend or pony, whatever. Anyway, it's pretty clear what the relationship is. And she has a kid that's brought into the relationship, so it's going to be like his daughter, sort of, if they ever get married or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, he's trying to prove to Windsprint, is that her name? Does that sound right?
Windsprint. Yep.
He's trying to prove to her that he's a sporty pony because that's what she's into, and of course Quibble's a nerd, so he's not. It's a pretty classic. I don't know. The word cliche sounds mean, but it's a pretty classic storytelling scenario.
It really is. I agree. It's such a classic, and I'll definitely be watching this again.
I'm gonna have to agree with Enigma Prince in the chat. They say they thought there'd be a lot more emotional with the context. The way this was built up, I thought it was gonna be an episode about death. You know, I thought they were gonna explore Windsprint's like dead father or divorce, like Space Pony brings up. Maybe he's not dead. But yeah, I really thought they were gonna go all in with that, and I guess I was disappointed that they didn't really do anything.
We kind of
let down.
Yeah, we kind of discussed that way before the episode, and now I do agree with that. It didn't really cover that, but if you understood the context near the end of what happened, then it'll hit you. But I don't know. It's just something that it should have been said, but I don't know if Hasbro was allowed to do that. But
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I think they could have done like. All right, so we were actually discussing during a call, and I said, "Oh, I bet." We were wondering how is he going to win her over in the end, right? Like, oh, is he going to have to save her life or something like that? You know, it's got to be some overdramatic. And no, they didn't. What did they do? I don't think there is an answer to that question. They didn't really do anything for a Quibble to win over Windsprint. It just sort of happened. Yeah. Well, he just said, "Oh, well, turns out I'm not so good at sports after all." And she was like, "Yeah, we know." Credits roll. Like, wait, okay.
Hojo really hated this episode because it mentioned sports.
Well, yeah.
Well, it's not just that. It's just like it took over the entire.
It's pretty clear.
That's all you keep saying.
It's pretty clear that they're going for
because
the sports motif with like the stadium and the museum, and that's not a bad thing. It's just obviously going to appeal more to sports fans.
Well,
no. It's the fact of the matter is it takes over that entire premise with like the generic genre of sports anime does, where it cuts over.
You're getting flashbacks to anime.
Yes, it cuts us to like this side drama, and then it supposedly revolves around this sport. When the entire time they're playing the sport itself doesn't even matter.
And even sports lives into your brain, and it's sports.
But no, because we didn't even get to see like a full game. It's like, and this is what got me angry about the Equestria Games, because I was like expecting to, not the Equestria Games, the Equestrian Games, the one from Canterlot. That episode a while back, I got really angry at that, because it's like they didn't focus around the sport itself. They focused around, the side plot that has nothing to do with the sport. And I would honestly like just seeing like a full episode of like them just like playing the game, because we've never seen them from start to finish an entire game.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It would be interesting if they had focus on one specific thing, like either the game or the relationship or the trip to the museum and the field, and like the trip itself could have been an episode, but no, it just sort of happens there. Like there's a lot of little things we could pick apart here, and I think the part of the problem for me personally is there isn't enough big things to say I have a problem with besides the letdown from all the hype up to this episode, and that's kind of separate from the episode. I can't really blame the episode for that. So really, I'm just mostly indifferent towards this episode, which in itself is a disappointment. But
there were a couple moments where I thought they could have done something better. Like I think I mentioned that that they kind of gave up this. Got what I said, but there were a couple moments that I didn't agree with, but I just mainly focused on the family aspect of it, which
they didn't really explore as fully as they could have. It's just sort of there, which was disappointing.
Yeah.
So yeah, really every aspect. The sports events, the trip, the game, the relationship, the conflict, the conclusion, all of it just sort of happens. There's no big twist. There's no surprises. There's not a lot of laugh out loud jokes. It's I don't know.
I just connected to Josh. Josh Haber really likes sports. He likes the Baltimore.
Let's jump on the Josh Haber hate train.
he likes sports, so that's what the writer wanted. So
yeah, so I want to hear from like a big sports fan. Maybe there's a lot of references I missed. Like, okay, so Quibble getting idioms or quotes or whatever they're called wrong. That's a pretty funny joke.
They're called sports statistics.
No. His like quotes like beat you to the. He didn't say punch. What he said, stuff like that.
Beat you to the punch.
He got all the words wrong. I don't know. Little jokes like that are fun. I'm trying to find some positive here. Cut me a break.
But
I don't think
the thing is, he brought out an almanac to look up the rules.
Yeah, would that have the rules in there? That does seem a little bit odd.
Alright, that's lunch.
I also noticed Rainbow Dash says the word flank a lot in this episode. It stuck out to me by the third time. It's like, get your flank over here, or
you should do a super cut.
Well, it's just 3 times actually. I counted, but
thank you, Enigma Prince.
Oh, so I did miss the very beginning before the theme. Jessica told me there was Derpy in it. What did I miss with Derpy? I need to know. Or was she joking? Anybody can answer.
I think Jessica said that she was
Jessica, you're muted.
playing buckball or something with.
Yeah, I missed the whole beginning because of streaming problems. I hate my ISP, but
I think she was the goalie or something.
Oh, really? I missed a good part. That was probably the best part of the whole episode, and I missed it.
All right,
man.
All right, I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, so I am wary of hating on this episode too much because I want to be clear. I didn't actually hate it, but another problem I noticed. It felt like a low budget episode in terms of animation. There weren't many custom faces. It's mostly just the stock default whatever they're called, symbols, and then also the storyboarding was all very flat, very little camera movements. There were some quick cuts here and there, but like virtually no camera movements, which is a sign that. I'm guessing it's a cost-saving measure or something. I don't know. Something was just off about this episode, and combined with the hype of course, Patton Oswalt, but also the emotional side of his real wife passed away, and he remarried her and all that. And that was kind of I thought that was gonna tie into this episode, and it tied in all the worst ways, in my opinion. The way it's like an OC self-insert fan fiction type of episode. I don't know. It just felt off. I want to hear from you guys some more. I'm talking too much.
So, I have a question. Does Josh Haber have a kid and he remarried to someone else who didn't have a kid?
That would be a funny coincidence. No, that's Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if they just swapped the roles because her husband died and then she remarried to this guy that the kid doesn't like, or is it the other way around where Patton Oswalt brought his kid into the relationship? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was his wife's kid, but I could be wrong. I think it was basically how the episode plays out in real life. And I'm guessing, I wonder how much of this Patton has had to do with this, like the script. Like if this was all his idea, and then it literally is self-insert fan fiction. That would be funny, but funny in the worst way.
I'm glad his kid got to voice act for it.
Yeah, should we talk about the kid? It just sounded like a kid to me. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't great. It was just a kid.
I think she's an up and coming.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's definitely could be.
I figured it out. So apparently people are giving this like a very mediocre episode. I think what they're trying to do is like the hype of the episode, like saying, "Oh yeah, this is going to be special." And then it turns out it.
Well, like this episode is in the news because of Patton Oswalt and the connection to his real life drama and all that, and it was in the news and in mainstream media and all that. And there's a lot of attention in this episode, especially for us fans who follow even closer. And after all that, it's just such a letdown. Not because it had to do something crazy over the top. Just all I wanted was a solid relationship episode, and this had all the worst cliches and none of the good ones.
Last part got me, but
okay, yeah, I want to hear about that because you mentioned you were actually feeling emotional by the end. I didn't feel anything, so I want to hear from you.
Well, I had a family member who passed away last year, and watching this episode, trying to connect with family and feeling like a family, it really hits me because just the overall family aspect at the end, saying, even though we have our differences, we still love each other to the end, and no matter what happens, and trying to connect that with Patton Oswalt's wife, death, just really, really hit me, and it reminded me of that. So
there wasn't any of that though. That's the problem I had with it, is that the ending just sort of happened. They didn't actually have a big conclusion, and Windsprint, the kid, doesn't really know Quibble, so they're not really family. It's not like, oh, we're family no matter what. Quibble actually thought they were breaking up at the end. Like, wait, that's how distant their relationship is, that he actually thought they might be breaking up over this?
This feels like the second date with a new girlfriend.
This is a date with a new girlfriend that has a kid. This isn't a family episode. Not to take away from your experience, Drummer Shy, but that's the way I felt about it. It just sort of, just not a whole lot going on, unfortunately.
Hey, you know what? That's all right. Everybody can think differently. That's perfectly okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to convince you to think otherwise. That's just how I feel.
That's okay. It's your opinion.
All right, let's jump into individual ratings and thoughts. We have some extra time on our hands because there's fewer of us. We can do 3 minutes each if we want, but I have a feeling we're not going to need that much time. But Drummer Shy, I do want to hear from you. So, what do you think of the episode?
I thought, it started off strong, and then the middle of the episode just kind of went nowhere, and the ending part was kind of the most emotional, really touching thing. I still think there could have been some improvements to this episode, like with I was hoping for talking about life and death in this episode, but clearly Hasbro do that. So I'm gonna give this this episode a 6.5 out of 10.
All right, 6.5. Yeah. Wait, all right, 6.5 from Drummer Shy.
Yep.
Hojo, what did you think?
I didn't like it.
Ooh. That's a horrible excuse. Add more, please.
Yeah. But it just felt like a bad Lifetime movie. It's just like nothing really happened. The kid's just resolve was way too, abrupt. It felt like they didn't. I honestly felt like it was from a divorce and not a what you call it?
Death.
Not a death, because the way the kid was acting. Kids would be a lot more distraught in that situation if it was a death. But I would honestly give this one a 3 out of 10, mainly because of the quality of the episode, the argument about sports, and all the cliches in between.
All right, a 3 from Hojo. Jessica, I noticed you're muted. If you're there, it's your turn.
I'm there. I'm just trying to keep my emotions and my opinions inside. Because
well, now's your chance.
You know what? You know what I think? I think that this was a good episode, and you know why? Because I think divorce is something that kids shows should talk about more often. Even if you say that it doesn't involve divorce or death, I don't care. I still think that it involves divorce, because I think that that's what most kids shows should talk about. especially when we had another episode that discussed this topic in season 8. I thought that this one could have. I understand you said it could have done it a little better. Maybe the kid could have been more emotional or said, if Dad were here or something like that. Maybe that would have made it much better. But you know what? I like the way it is. Yes, there was hype for this episode, and I don't care about having so much hype. Yes, it's great to see Patton Oswalt again as Pants, and I like him in this episode. I like that he's determined to try to get this kid to like him. And yeah, I just like the concept of this episode. And yeah, I mean, I'm not a sports fan either. I don't like sports, but I do enjoy going to sports sometimes with my family because I just think it's fun. And so, yeah, even though I'm not a sports fan, I still liked how this episode turned out. And I don't know, I just felt like this episode handled it a little better than I think everyone else thought. I mean, yeah,
I just got disconnected from Discord. I don't know what's up with that. If you guys can even hear me right now. I promise I didn't cut her off. we might have just lost Discord. It does go down every once in a while. I have no idea if I'm still streaming. Let me check my connection. Yeah, I still have internet connection, so I'm guessing you guys can hear me, but Discord appears to be down. This has never happened before. All right, I apologize in advance to Jessica for not letting her finish, but again, Discord just went down. That was not my doing. I don't know if I should continue with my review. We can always calculate Jessica's rating later, but I guess I'll just give my review until we're back on Discord. This is weird. This has never happened before. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't a giant fan of the episode, but I also didn't hate it. Like, there was nothing in this episode that made me, oh, this is so annoying, or this is so horribly written, or any of that usual complaints I have. It wasn't anything like that. It was just sort of, okay, this is happening. Okay, Patton Oswalt's here and his wife and kid, and this is nice. It's nice, but it didn't really it didn't deliver on any of the hype of the emotional aspect. And I think I could probably talk about the rest of the time I have just about the kid's deceased or divorced father, because I'm going with deceased because there's a couple hints in there where they mention the father and she appears sad, which of course could be divorced as well. But then they mention. Rainbow Dash mentions Wonderbolt, and they mention how good of a flyer he is, and she also appears sad at that time, and it makes me wonder if there's some kind of opening there for fans to kind of introduce their own story. It's very subtle, but there's these very subtle emotional moments where the kid appears sad at the mention of their father being a good flyer and a Wonderbolt or something like that, and then appears sad. And I wonder if maybe there's some flight accident. There's our room for speculation, which the show is usually pretty good at doing, giving us some room for speculation. I'm struggling here because I'm trying to keep up with Jessica's messages as I'm giving this review, but I'll write down 8 out of 10, Jessica. Thank you very much. So I got that written down. So yeah, overall, it was just an episode that sort of happened. I wasn't a giant fan, but I didn't hate it either. So for me, like a 5 is a meh episode, a 10 being the best ever, and then 1 being like the worst episode ever. I suppose I'll give this one a 6 because it's just a little bit better than average because it has Patton Oswalt and his family and all that. So, unfortunately, the story is very cliche. Didn't do a whole lot that was... Like I said earlier, it has some of the worst cliches and none of the best ones. Like, I really thought there's going to be some life endangerment or something, and he was going to have to save the kid, and then after that, she would love him, or, she would be like, oh, thanks for saving me. I thought they were going to do that whole big cliched thing, and then they didn't do anything. So it did subvert my expectations in that sense, that they didn't do what I was expecting, but then they went and did nothing at all, which I just thought was weird. Anyway, I've jabbered on for long enough. It doesn't appear that Discord is going to be coming back. Again, Discord went down mid-review, so it's just me now all by myself. But yeah, Jessica did give it an 8 out of 10. I just gave it a 6, so let's tally up our results. This is so weird doing it alone. I've been doing this for how many years? 40, 50, 60. Like 6, 7, I don't know how many years that we've been doing these reviews, and this is the first time I've had to do one alone. All right, calculate the average. Wait, really? That low? No. Okay, the average is, okay, I got the average here. Drum roll. Usually someone else does this. The average rating for Common Ground for Little Shy Livestream Reviews is a 5.8, which we round up to a 6. So that's actually what I give it. I'm happy with that one. I do wish we could hear more from Jessica. It did seem like she had I like hearing the other side, how she really seemed to enjoy this episode, and that's great. But yeah, sorry, Jessica, we couldn't hear the rest of your review. And thank you so much to everyone else who stopped by. and hope to see you next time. We do these live as the credits roll, so long as Discord doesn't go down. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.